I'm thrilled to be spending some quality time with the gentleman who had the vision for eWater. He is the person that all of you know who's been your inspiration and somebody who has served countless people's lives, helped them to feel healthier and happier, and it is a thrill to spend some quality time with Mr. Fred Van Liew.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh, this is a fun time for us to have this interview finally, and it's hard to lock you down because you're so busy running around talking to your clients, talking to your customers, serving people, making sure things run right. I mean, thank you for taking a few minutes to talk to me.
Oh, I've actually very much looked forward to this. I appreciate you.
I think what's great about it is that for the people that are watching this that haven't had a chance to get to know you yet, or they've seen you on stage, or they've seen you on television, or somewhere in the media, or on the internet, that now this is their opportunity to get to know you a little bit better. Not only as the founder and creator of eWater, but just as a person, as a man, and just kind of finding out, which is what I'd like to start with, is what inspired you to go into this industry?
To call it inspiration is maybe misstating it. It was actually a catastrophe that has a very good ending. I'd been dealing with a number of areas in natural health care, but water had been, like so many people back then and even now, where they think water is water. And what's coming out of the tap, no different than a bottled water, that's ridiculous. But at the time, what did we know? But I had done my research. I had gotten the largest carbon block made a little over a quarter of a century ago. And after doing my research, I purchased that, and that's what we were drinking our water out of. And that was okay. Up in Massachusetts at the time, the surface water was not fluoridated and very low in dissolved solids. Well, we came to Texas and ended up in Grand Prairie, just over the border from Arlington, and my third child was conceived and born as we were drinking water going through this huge carbon block. And what I didn't know is that the carbon block was not taking out. They told you, hundreds of chemicals that it was taking out.
Right.
Even stated it took out fluorine, which is a gas. Of course, it's never in water.
I've never even heard of fluorine.
Well, fluorine isn't ever in water, but it made you think it took out fluoride. Well, it doesn't. And so it wasn't taking out the fluoride, sulfates, nitrates, arsenic, aluminum, dead dirt, minerals, salts, phosphates, detergents, or medical wastes. But I didn't know that. So this created havoc for this unborn child during conception. And then at birth, my third child had all kinds of challenges, so much so that literally every morning we didn't know whether he was going to wake up.
Really?
Had a tremendous difficulty eating and didn't speak for a long time. I mean, nothing. But when he did start speaking, he spoke in complete sentences. When he was able to eat, which was after I got this about 55 court cases from around the country on fluoride, where all of Dougie's symptoms showed in what they described as fluoride toxicity and poisoning. And in every case, the judges, who were either neutral or pro-fluoride, before stated this should never be added to water, but it's out of our jurisdiction. This is in the health department, and all this was by design. And I was furious because I did my research, I did my homework.
Right.
And
I mean, and you, as opposed to many people, had a system for filtration, and you're still...
Yeah.
I mean, right. And you thought that was taken care of.
I had made my choice based on the available information.
Right.
And as has happened before and since, is I got very mad, and I said, I'm going to find out what the truth is. Not what people say, but what is the truth. And I found out there was many books and literature and lectures that said, the minerals were good, and then the others say the minerals are bad, and then they say the fluoride is great, the fluoride is terrible, and then et cetera, et cetera. And I had to sift through it, see who had a vested interest and who just was looking for the truth, where the science was valid and where was it self-serving. I mean, if you only sell a carbon filter, then everything that you can't remove is good for you, right? Because it has to be. If you only sell a water softener, well, what does a water softener do? Everything, because it's all you sell. So I started studying, and I finally had to get to not the plumbing of the house, but what does the plumbing of the body need to function properly? Mm-hmm. And this was a totally different approach than where most people had taken. Now, mind you, this was just on the purifying of the water. It hadn't even gotten into structure yet, or the energies and the harmonics and where we've gone now, which is so critical now that we've polluted our environment, not just with chemical pollution, but electronic pollution. And this has destroyed the water, the structure of the water. Most water, when you drink it, even after it's purified, literally sucks the energy out of you. And that's not the way it's supposed to be.
Well, I don't think the average person, including me, has any idea what that even means. And so,
at least you're honest.
No, I'm honest. I mean,
no, that's good.
When I first heard about your company and what you do, I'm like, it was all very like, what and does what and why, and I didn't understand when I watched you work on people, I had no idea what could that possibly be doing to help them. And I've had the incredible opportunity as I've been, of course, done some research on your company and have learned about the people that you've helped. But during this process of interviewing, a lot of your clients and your customers and your students, your colleagues, your staff, I mean, the stories that I've heard, I mean, they're just overwhelming. And I think the neatest thing,
cool, isn't it?
Yeah, it's kind of cool. And here's the thing, and that smile on your face is so great because it's really your passion, obviously right in the core of your entire being, which is what, what I appreciate so much, to serve and to help people. You've taken a tragic situation that happened in your life and you've found some answers that, can prevent people from going through what you went through with your family. And I need to ask before we move on, because I know every single person is wondering, how is your son now? Because they're going to want to know that,
Well,
before we move on to other topics.
See, part of the solution is to know what the problem is, and we didn't know. Mm-hmm. No one could give us any answers. When I found out it's the fluoride and as a trigger and then some of the other heavy metals, then we knew kind of what to do. And so very quickly we started getting him turned around. And then when he finally could eat something, I mean, he couldn't even tolerate mother's milk for a while. But then when he could eat, it was so much fun to watch him eat.
Right.
But honestly, and there's always a price to pay, but God's good. There's a serendipity that came about. And look, he's the only one of my 3 kids became an Eagle Scout. He's, I get choked up. Sorry. He's just such a cool kid. Anyway.
You're going to make me cry because I have a child of my own.
Well,
but let me
I hope you're as proud of him as I am of Dougie. But he's gone on and he's just tops in his field and has top security clearance as a civilian for working on HVAC systems and all in military installations. But it's his character. Mm-hmm. I'm sure this wasn't where this was supposed to go.
But it is, and the reason why it is I think that it's it truly is. I didn't understand a lot of what you do when I first met you and watched you. I was at an event that you were working on a bunch of people, but I think that, and this is the same thing everybody says about you, is they feel this genuine caring that you have for people, and a lot of times I think it's true. You see something in them that they're suffering from. You have a really strong intuition about that with people, and almost care more about them than they do about their own health. And you get so passionate with people about getting them to a better place in their health that they may not even know they need. Mm-hmm. And so it is where it's supposed to go, because at the heart of it's your heart and your passion and your emotional commitment to serve people and help people that is why you're so successful. So, that's why this is who you are. This is the authentic part of who you are. And I think it's neat for people to, and I've had a chance to know you in recent months, and it's true, when I sit down and do something like this project we've done to share your message with people, it is really important to me to know that the person that I am, doing this for is somebody that I believe has their heart in the right place, their integrity in the right place, because I don't want to be a part of something that's not serving people at the highest level, right? So So let's talk a little bit about that, because your son is thriving and
Yes,
doing
he is.
great.
Married, wonderful.
Blessed, because I mean, there's a lot of people who went through things. I mean, what's coming to my mind is just the whole Aaron Brockovich story, right? You know, the movie of people who lost their children, or they were, mentally or emotionally or physically damaged and obviously these stories go on and on about water being contaminated. But you've made it your now life's work to take this experience and, develop products and systems and education, for people to thrive at a higher level. But it's gone so much further than that.
Well, I lost my dad in his 60s and way too young. I mean, the family genetically on his side into the 90s. And it was entirely medication. And with what I know now, totally unnecessary. But, you don't beat yourself up. I didn't know at the time, neither did he. And, it's one thing I try to help the healthcare providers themselves, as well as relatives who sometimes feel guilty. Oh, if I had only known this. But you didn't. You did the best you could do, and never beat yourself up on what you could have done. Just based on what you know now, if you make that available to people with the right intention, always in love, and they choose not to do it, accept it. It's their choice. Your obligation is to make it available. So what I know about water and the various characteristics and how to give the body the best support to get optimal result, what I know about nutrition, the nourishment, air purification, people are welcome to accept it or not. Now, they do well to accept it. I really do know what I'm doing. But you have to give that freedom of choice. And as I say, if I say, if you do that, you're probably going to have some bad consequences. Now, if I do that in love, giving you the freedom to reject or accept, that's fine. But if I do it with self-righteous, then it's the wrong motivation. So I try to remember that. It's hard sometimes because, you do want it more, especially for relatives, than they often want it for themselves. You got to back off.
Yeah, and I've watched you at certain times for somebody who doesn't, you have a sense that they're really struggling, and that I've seen that certain systems or products or whatever that you have, you feel without any doubt that that could help them. And if they don't move forward, it's that idea, even like, let's take your whole product system out of it. When you see anybody that in your life that's doing something destructive for them, right? And there's something, and there's people watching us that, have people suffering from addictions or whatever the case may be. And they know if they would just go to rehab, or if they would just whatever, they would get better. It's hard. But I think that's the nice thing, is that with you, I don't think it's offensive. I just think one of the reasons why
overwhelming
people,
would be the word, right?
Yeah, but you're so passionate, and I think that's the one thing that I've noticed with people is they feel that even though you're really intense about it, and even though they may not move forward or be ready to take that step, they do feel that there's a genuine desire from your aspect to help them,
Well, there's a word, and I don't even mind using it at this point. There's a word that I've heard over and over for so many years, and it's integrity. And I've often said God honors integrity of heart, even when you're wrong. And it's like intention. And I have worked very hard to maintain that and not compromise. And not compromise integrity or product quality or truth. I always pursue truth. It's never about the money, not when people's health is involved, and that's a fact. When you're dealing with people's health, right now, where I've gotten, especially the nourishment part, gotten back to how the body really functions. And there's kind of a middleman in there called commensal cells. And we've been doing this for several years, but just this last year and a half, I mean, the front page, cover page of Scientific American and a number of true journals, AMA, where they're talking about the commensal cells and this new paradigm in health and all. Well, they're the ones that take care of your body cells. These are not body cells. These are living organisms in the body. And there are about 9 or 10 of them for every body cell. And they're many times smarter than the body cells. They've got like 300,000 genes or more each. And the body cells have about 65,000. But here's the key. What we eat, if it were digested properly, if it were real food with real plant minerals, the body takes it, breaks it down, and creates hundreds of thousands of different compounds that nourish these living organisms. Not your body cells. The living organisms, the commensal cells, and they create the vitamins on demand. They clean up the messes. They coordinate everything. It's like so cool. They were abandoned 40 or 50 years ago by modern nutrition. which is why so much of modern nutrition isn't working. Now, when you combine that with the fact that digestion is shut down, as is so much other body function, because the cells themselves are shutting down. I mean, the doctors would say they go to sympathetic mode, meaning shut down, and they're just waiting to feel safe again. And normally, they'd feel safe and open back up to parasympathetic. Well, they never feel safe because all this electronic chaos keeps hammering them. And so it's not just about the water anymore. Water is truly the key. It should be providing the flushing mechanism, the hydrating mechanism, the cleansing mechanism, and the energy. It should be a source of harmonic energy. Almost none of that is happening efficiently anymore, and it's up to the body to try to convert the water we put in it to that, taking up more energy that it doesn't even have.
So if somebody is drinking their 8 things of bottled water a day, you're saying that's not giving them what they need to be. People always say, if you would just drink those 8 bottles of water a day, you know.
That's what's frustrating. Many people are drowning in water and their cells are dehydrated. In fact, many people who are drinking this new ionized, it's not so new, they came to me first years ago and I rejected it when I asked questions and found out they had no answers, and it's gotten worse than I even imagined. These alkaline water machines, the majority of, I was just speaking to a medical doctor here this morning, and he was talking about how when he tests people, he can tell if they're drinking the ionized water because they always come up as dehydrated at the cellular level. It's the opposite of what their marketing is claiming. And it's expensive, but people who sell it, it's very profitable, and so they abandoned the fact that, wait a minute, this is people's health. You don't just make money and let people's health go into the crapper. And but I've maintained this for years. You do not want alkaline water, so to speak. You want an alkaline system. And everything in nature's design that alkalizes the body is an acid. Even you have amino acids. You don't have a single amino alkaline. All of the vegetables and fruits, although they're alkalizing, they're all acidic until the body digests them. And the more acidic they are, like a lemon, the more alkalizing they are once the body handles them and burns the energy. In fact, only acids are able to release energy. And of course, that's what we live on, is energy.
Well, okay, I hate to interrupt you, but you're going to a place medically and scientifically where you're like losing me.
All right. And no, this is good. I mean, keep me on the ground.
No, and the reason I say that is because in the time that I've been around your company and as I'm learning things, it sounds like what I hear you saying is that, like, I had no idea that if you were just drinking to me, if you have bottled water, you know, obviously that's better than drinking tap water. I understand the importance of filtration systems because I was exposed to that many years ago, and that they're pouring chemicals in the water to kill certain things that are in the pipes. But then once that, you know what I mean, that I got.
Yeah, most people forget you're a living organism.
Right, right. But, I mean, I think that the first time I was exposed to this, and I've heard more about this as I've been, talking to a lot of your staff, and
amazing?
Colin. Yeah, they're amazing. So,
and Colin, they call him Little Fred. And soon he'll be Big Fred, and I'll be Little Fred. I mean, most of the water questions and systems and all he handles now. He has a wonderful passion for it. I so adored it. That's me years ago.
Right.
And I still have a passion, but it's only one niche of people's total health.
Right.
I only have to get involved now when it's a big challenge or old systems or, just some really health-related issue. It always comes to me, but Colin is so good.
Well, what's nice about, learning, when he was describing certain things to me is that, I mean, there's just so many details that I had not heard about that I learned from him just recently when I was doing my interview with him. But I think that what I'm now grasping, and, for the people watching that are kind of going through the same thing I am about, like, what does this all really mean, is that it's the combination of even the water, bottled water, you know what I mean? There's a whole other thing about the water spinning and the energy of the water.
Spin and the
right.
Energy.
And like I said, I know that you have a lot of videos that explain the different details and the scientific reasons for that.
It can be summarized in when water is allowed to flow naturally, it creates its own what are called vortexes, like little little tornadoes within tornadoes, and it naturally energizes, naturally oxygenates. When you see it going around sticks or on a bridge, the abutments, you can see the swirling.
Right.
All of that naturally cleanses and energizes. Water's amazing. It'll do that. It breaks when it goes over a little waterfall or a big waterfall. It's breaking the magnetic field of the Earth, and that again structures and energizes the water, especially since it's interacting with the far infrared from the sun and the Earth and the magnetics in the rocks, which aren't nearly as strong as it used to be, but still all of that, the longer water is allowed to flow naturally, the more it, Dr. Carl Bass said, sings. It revitalizes itself. And
you have to understand, I've never thought of water as having its own energy. Now, I know that when I'm exposed to a waterfall or the ocean or water spinning, I mean, it's very powerful and very healing. And now hearing the scientific reasons for that, are fascinating.
It's one of the reasons they look for water on other planets.
Right.
It's not just it's a sign of life. It's because water holds the memory.
Right.
Of generations and thousands of years of information. It's in the water. It's like the computer chip. IBM tried to use water as their original computer chip, and it held the information perfectly, but getting it out was like going fishing.
Right. But I think the bottom line is the average person watching us right now is just basically like, okay, clearly you have a wealth of knowledge. I mean, like far beyond anything that any of us...
Most people don't want to know.
Well, you've spent a lifetime to learn this. And I think what they want to know is, how is this going to help me? You know what I mean? And how does it serve me? And what I want to talk to you about is everything that you've put together through eWater, between the water systems for your home, between all the different products that you have and the nutritional products, as well as the education that you provide. I mean, there's a whole balance of things. And then this whole energy thing. Before I met you, I'd never heard about somebody telling me to put a dot on my phone or, the pendant. And I didn't understand it. Sounded a little crazy to me. Like, what is that?
The fact that showering in chlorinated tap water, city water, can be more hazardous than drinking the same water all day.
That I got. Yeah. I mean, I had already been exposed to that many years ago, but I think a lot of people have not, Right. But I think the main thing is that it's been my goal in this experience with you for people to understand that with the knowledge that you have, none of us, I don't think, are ever going to completely understand it in detail. But I think what's great is that you do have all of these little separate, educational videos that you produce where, for people who want to understand it, and like even if they're watching us right now and they want to understand more about what you were just talking about, they can click on.
And they go to eWater.com.
Right.
And they access resources. But if
now, I'm the kind of person that says, if you just give it to me and I swallow it or I put it around my neck, you know what I mean? Or I get in the shower and I know it's healthier for me and my son, all that, I'm good.
Yeah. This is where eWater, many years ago, working with the doctors, they would refer the patients to me, quickly developed that kind of trust with the doctor.
Right.
And they knew if their patients had a good system, I'd tell them it's a good system, and I'd tell them why. If they had a system that wasn't giving them the kind of water that would help their health, I would tell them, but I would tell them why. It wasn't like, they're going to it's not good because I want to sell them a system. That wasn't it at all. Mm-hmm. And so they quickly gained the trust. But what I found is that if they would they were so scared they were going to take the wrong move because everyone's saying the same thing, and who do you trust and who do you listen to? And I just came up with a 6-month money-back guarantee. It was absolutely unconditional for years. It's no longer totally unconditional. You drop it out of an airplane at 60,000 feet, I am not going to guarantee it 100%. But pretty much so. If you find for any reason what my people or I recommend for the given situation, that's why we always, what are you trying to accomplish? That's our question. You do what I say. It'll save you thousands of dollars and years of frustration in most cases. Do it, but I'll give you 6 months to continue to do your research, see what else you find. I simply say, tell us what you think or why you think something's better. Give us a chance to answer it, but it will not affect whether you can return it. It's an absolute money-back guarantee. And we don't get much back. Mm-hmm. And the reasons are often very amusing. Like I remember one world famous ballerina. She and her husband got our whole house system, and they were out in California. And I got a call back, and she was in tears because their entire house had nothing but cement all around it. There was no way. There was no basement, so they had to access it. They would have to jackhammer, the cement to access the pipes. So they put shower filters in and the water, so they couldn't put the whole house system on. And she was so looking forward to that because my reputation already was, wow, if you don't have his system, you don't have a system.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and that's one of the things that I want to bring up about the money-back guarantee. I mean, I don't know. I can't remember the last time I heard of anybody offering a 6-month money-back guarantee on a products.
Any appliance
exactly.
Water has that.
And I think that just speaks to your conviction and confidence that what you have to offer really, obviously, is going to enhance people's health. Because it's like you're saying, you've got 6 months to prove it to yourself. Because I already know.
That's true. And if I'm not using it myself, why on earth would I make it available to you?
Right. Now let's talk about something else, because here you are, you're a successful entrepreneur, you've been in business for many years, you've built a number of different companies and, always, been successful with them.
I once had color to my hair.
You have color to your hair.
I do?
Now, it shows all of the incredible knowledge that you've gained, which is, really true. Because I think that people would say, okay, so you've been successful. Why do you still work so hard? Why are you still so driven? Do you know what I mean? Why don't you, in this, very mature state that, and all this knowledge that you have, just take it easy? I know you like to go on cruises, but I know that when you go on a cruise, you're always helping people, right? You don't just relax. Right?
Yeah.
One thing you do is you're on a cruise and you're constantly working with people, trying to help them and, find what's going to make them feel better. And so what drives you?
Lying in bed, my wife will say, Fred, turn it off, meaning my mind.
Yeah, you turn your mind off, right?
But it really is. It's a problem-solving thing, and when you're doing what you love, it's not work. When you're having to do the things you don't really like and there isn't a purpose or an end result that is what you love, it's work. And I've been blessed in my more recent years especially that I'm able to work in the areas that I truly love, and my staff handles we've got 7,800 square feet, all air conditioned, wonderful office and warehouse space. And they do such a marvelous job in the infrastructure and taking care of the customers after the fact that I am totally free to always seek not just the knowledge, but the practical application of the knowledge or appliances or science. And that's where I think I've excelled. There are many brilliant, much more brilliant than I am, scientists and inventors that come up with things and it's like, whoa, but they don't know how to make it practical. And if I have a need, I, in effect, put it out there, and I attract the answers.
Right.
And sometimes you get a lot of squirrely, answers, and you have to be able to sort and sift. But when I find one that is complete, like I don't deal with partial energies, I don't deal with partial answers. There's, why? I look for complete answers to challenges that are very practical, so that people can and will use them in their lives. You can have something. I often use my memory is people that were selling these pyramids you would put on your head, and they kind of work. They do concentrate energy, but you really want to walk around with a pyramid on your head? Come on, it's not practical.
Right.
So it's like I wear, this EP2 stress pendant. In this case, it even has this little triangle for HARP, protection from the HARP, which people don't have to worry about. But this right here, this protects my body about 93% of all and any chaos out there. So you can take this off and set it next to a drink. Can
I stop you for a second?
Sure.
When you say chaos, now the first time I ever heard you say that, let's define that so people understand what you mean, because there is a very scientific, literal thing that you mean by chaos, and I now understand it. So
anything disruptive to normal cellular function because of what you alluded to in the beginning, electron spin. Chaotic energies have a right electron spin, which in a computer doesn't matter. I mean, computers, all that stuff you see on your computer, this is a chip the size of your thumbnail, sorting right and left spinning electrons.
Well, and we're talking about the cell phone waves and the microwaves and the computer waves.
Almost anything man-made is going to be right spinning, chaotic, disruptive
but people don't
electrons.
Think about that because they don't see it and they don't feel it.
But it's easy to test if you know any legitimate test, and there are a number of ways they can be tested. And that's what I tell people. I say, the difference between my technologies and most people's technologies is any legitimate test will validate the results as well as the function of what I recommend to you. Too many appliances have customized testing that show something that they do, and it's so impressive. But that's all they do, and it's really, what does it mean? Not a whole lot. And I was reminded of something that I encountered when I first had I had the first real shower filter that worked, really well. But it was a lot bigger than what I have now. But I sent it into the laboratory, a friend of mine, Jerry Tolman, and I wanted this tested. And he said, "What results would you like?" And I went, "What?" He said, "What results would you like? We can gear the test to give you the results you want." I said, I want to know how it functions in the real world. I want your city water to go through it at normal speed, and after 500 gallons, I want to know what it's filtering. He said, "But we can make it get much better results." And I said, "No." And that's when I realized that he who pays for testing gets the results they want. I have seen people test carbon filters that they claim remove fluoride, because if you put the water through slowly enough, and you take your sample after just the first water comes out, it's initially holding back a little of the fluoride, so you show, but you put even a gallon of water through a carbon filter, there is no fluoride being removed. So this is a manipulation that repulsed me as far as testing and how you could falsify it. I'm not saying all testing is falsified, but the majority.
Okay, so I want to go back to the question I asked you a few minutes ago, which was
do I take a rabbit trail on you?
You did, but which was what drives you. And here's how I'm going to ask you this question. Let's say that you can't go out tomorrow and work on somebody or talk to somebody on the phone and serve them in some way to help them with their health, and you're restricted from doing that, and you're just not allowed to do that, can't do that. What happens to Fred Van Liew without?
I truly become almost depressed, but I have to, under the right circumstances, I'm a loner, truly by choice, believe it or not. If I'm in a situation where there is no reason for me to work on people, and I'm just on vacation or whatever, for me, I love not having to work on people. But if that's what I'm called, it's like I'm called to do it. If there's, whether it's a spiritual, physical, mental, emotional thing, if I've got some knowledge or if I've got a skill that I've gained, I've worked with some of the best people in the world that are healers, and yeah, initially it was because I was the best in water and they were the best at what they do. And I mean, after 20, 25 years of this, all of a sudden it kind of gelled with me after studying with them too, and kind of put it all together. And for instance, what we call ERCs, the emotional release and cellular support. Where did that come from? Well, what I saw is that cells were not functioning. We often call it adrenal exhaustion. But the adrenal formulas, herbal formulas and nutritional formulas weren't working. What I found is because the adrenals were fine, the cells were shutting down, and sometimes as much as 98%. What does that mean? It means 2% of your cells were doing all the work. Well, that's not fair, and it certainly isn't fun for the person.
Now, I've watched you test people for that, and I've actually heard you try to do that with me on the phone. How do you do that?
Very nicely.
Yeah, I know, but like when I'm on the phone, I'm thinking, how do you have any idea if I'm operating at capacity?
Anyone who has worked
and just by the way, because before I come here, I'm having problems with my knee, so, and I'm like, and somehow over the phone you're testing my energy level. Like, what is that? I don't understand that.
Someone has to at least accept that the energies that your brain possesses are so powerful that when you think a thought, it goes throughout the universe or universes. It's out there for anyone listening to pick up. Most people don't care about what you're thinking or the universe. But I'm saying if someone does, it's just like every time there's a major breakthrough, an invention, all of a sudden there are like 6 people around the world claiming they got it first. Well, how did that happen? 50 years they've been trying to get an answer. Someone gets an answer in the United States and 6 other countries where people have been working on this, they get the answer. And that's, this idea of once the answer is out there, anyone listening can pick it up and get the answer. So everything about you is a frequency. Every substance has its own signature frequency. Every thought, every disease has a different frequency. Each form of cancer has a different frequency. So all we have to do is tap into that. Well, negative energies make muscles go weak because they make cells go weak, and the cells make up muscles. And that's the basic concept behind muscle testing. So intuitively, after working on thousands of people, you get to where you know. So some people say, oh, you so spiritual. No, yeah, I've planted 4 churches in my life. I've been the worship leader, blah, blah, blah. But it's not so spiritual. Like, I don't walk around and feel your energy. Some people can do that, and it's marvelous. Some people see your aura. It's real. I mean, they can really develop that. Some people see demons. I would never want to see demons. I mean, if I desired it, I could develop the ability to see them. Why would you want to go through life seeing demons? I mean, come on. So, but what I can do is test my muscles when I ask a question, because if my cells answer yes, it's strong. If my cells, the cells, they can't lie. They receive the truth. They respond truthfully. And so it's just my cells, if I ask a question, they tell me. So if I'm going over 5%, 10%, 15%, and I'm just kind of muscle testing in any way, any muscle at all, in this case can be with fingers or it can be, it took me 12 years to get to where I could do that one. But it doesn't matter. It's just there are many ways you test. If it's a muscle, it's strong on a yes, weak on a no. It's that simple. I say, you over 5%, 10, 15, it goes weak. I go 10, 11, 12. So let's say you're at 12%. And you go, how'd you do that? Well, again, as I say, very easily now, very nicely. But it's just basic muscle response testing.
Well, and I think what's important. Okay, this is what I think is important. When you said it's scientific testing. So I think that for people who want more information about that, is that to understand there's a scientific formula that you're following, because when they look at you and you respond very quickly when you work on people, I've watched you do it, and people are going, what the heck? You know what I mean?
How does a pianist play all those notes so quickly? Because music was my background, but I always looked at how are they doing that? It's called muscle memory, and they've done it for so long.
Right.
They don't even have to think about it. They see on the music on a page and their hands are just going.
It's like you say when you're driving somewhere and you know where you're going, you don't really have to think about it because you just absolutely go there. And there's more that can be explained, but I think the point is that there is like some scientific, data behind what you're doing when you're testing people.
Totally, but it's like, if you're asking a toad to understand what music is, toad doesn't know.
Right.
And we have toads in the area of science that because in their little square box of their science, they don't agree with like quantum science. Well, the quantum science doesn't agree with theirs.
Right.
Yet both are right within their box. And it's just getting so, I just try to expand the box to where I ultimately don't want a box.
Right.
And it's very helpful because you just seek truth. And sometimes truth is not even close to what you thought was true.
Yeah. Let me ask you, like for the average person who's watching us right now, and I'm sure that there's many of your current clients and customers that are watching the interview, but let's talk about the person that doesn't know you, has not tried any of your products, has not been to one of your seminars and all of that. What do you say to that person who, they know they're not maybe necessarily ill or have a chronic disease, but they just know something doesn't feel right, and they they're thinking, wow, maybe this could help me, but maybe it's just another one of those products and gimmicks or whatever the case may be. Like, what would you recommend that person do? Let's say they don't live in your area so that they can come and meet you in person and have you work on them. What do you recommend that they do?
If they're not able to get in touch with me personally, because there's a lot I can do over the phone in terms of, getting some answers clearly, that are indications. Never take anything as absolute. I mean, even, the medical tests and all, the accuracy. Some of them are less than 25% accurate,
right.
And yet we take them as gospel.
Right.
But nevertheless, nothing is. But if it's an indication, then try to get additional verification. Or, what's developed so nicely is the way we support the body, or I support the body with what we call now a bulldozer pack or approach,
right.
is you give the body everything energetically, harmonically it needs to hydrate the body properly. And then you want to nourish the body with those hundreds of thousands of compounds that your digestion should be creating. But because we're so shut down, you're not. Even if you're eating all organic and all fresh vegetables or such, you're not creating the hundreds of thousands of compounds that your body is designed to function with. Therefore, your commensal cells, they've got no energy, they've got no nourishment, they're like, and they don't do anything. And so your cells are there like little chicks going, where's the food? Where's the food? Where's the energy? Where's the energy? And they're doing nothing. And you're just pushing through the day by sheer personality. And I know with your personality, you've done that sometimes. Mm-hmm. And so the key is, all right, let's give the body everything it needs, like a good toolbox for a carpenter. Because if you give a carpenter a screwdriver and a hammer and that's it, he'll get the work done, but it's going to be ugly. How often do we get ugly results in our body? Because we're not giving it everything. Give it a full toolbox, which is my approach, of everything it needs. Let it select what it needs. Let it deal with its perfect intelligence. See, modern man thinks it's smarter. He's smarter than the body.
Right.
Smarter than natural design. So he tries to tell, even in modern nutrition, tell the body what to do with certain protocols that if you have this, take this vitamin. If you have that, wait, vitamins don't exist in isolated form in nature. And this has been my approach forever. If it's not how nature provides it, why are you doing it? Now, short-term therapeutically, there are exceptions, no question. But still, if we can give the body what it needs, the way God designed it to function, then it should, by its perfect intelligence, get the results we want sooner and in the right priority than if we try to tell the body what to do. And you know what? Turned out I was right. But I've had mentors that have gotten me to that point. People like Dr. Paul Yannick Jr., just such a brilliant, brilliant man with such a pure heart, uncompromising to the extent that he is the most difficult person to work with. And I think I'm the longest business relationship he's had because it is. He will not compromise. He'll throw away 6 figures of raw material that got contaminated by the FDA or comes in and it's somehow gotten contaminated. He won't use it. He won't sell it. He will just trash it. Oh, it's frustrating. But I agree. No compromise. So the results, including when you ship, people don't know that other than UPS, any other shipping method, if you don't protect the products from the X-rays, from the radiation, they will get contaminated, they will lose energy, especially things like probiotics.
Yeah.
Did you know that probiotics are really the key to getting your commensal, your inner vitality going again and your healing?
No.
They're everything. But the problem is you buy probiotics in the health food store and usually they're shot. Yeah, they're like
they've been shipped.
Oh, absolutely. They got when they were made, they had all these organisms, and now they got a little tiny bit of that.
Right.
So all of this, understanding it to where we give the body what it needs, and we'll have people turn around in 1, 2, or 3 days many times, or they've got a low acidic pH in their body, and like it happened to me, overnight, my pH normalized up around 7 pH. I'm like, wow. And that's not by putting, remember what I said in the beginning of this? It's not by putting alkalizers in the body.
Right.
It's by you get the body to where it's no longer producing so much acid. You get candida under control. And my bulldozer pack, usually 21 days or less.
Yeah.
And candida, when they die off, man, they are so acidic, so toxic to the body, you feel terrible normally. Not when you let the body take care of it, get get the balance and the pH right and the hydration right, and that candidiasis just comes back under control, and you hardly feel the change. That excites me.
All right.
What?
You're just like, you're just like an encyclopedia of information, but obviously it's great because I think, I think what's the best part of listening to you, because half of what you talk about, I don't understand a clue what you're saying.
I love honesty.
No, but it's true. I know there's a lot of people watching you that are far more educated than I am, but the reason why it's important for me to say that is because once again, I go back to the fact that, the average person who just wants to feel better, I think it's important for them to understand that because you do give like that, that guarantee, that 6-month guarantee, that people have the opportunity to try the different products, one or all of them, or whatever the case may be, and see how it affects them. And
well, on appliances, I do that. I want to clarify.
Right.
Consumed products, I don't give a 6-month. Hey, look, you don't go to the grocery. You don't go to the grocery store. Eat all the food.
If they're consuming them, obviously there's a whole different story.
Unused product, absolutely.
Right.
But
right.
First of all, I know the result is there.
Right.
And dealt with enough people so consistently. And here's the other key: when there is a brick wall that people hit, and there are a percentage of people hit that brick wall, there's always a reason.
Right.
And that you asked, why do I get up so excited every morning? I look for those brick walls.
Right.
I really do. They keep my life so exciting.
Well, and I've seen you. Here's one of the things that one of your clients, who's also a friend of yours, and I talked about, is that he would be in the middle of a lunch with you, and I've had this experience just in the last few days, and we'll be trying to talk about something we're going to do for, like I'll be asking you a question about somebody I'm going to interview, and the phone will ring, and you'll get on the phone and start talking to a customer or a client and completely ignore the fact that we're sitting there, and he said he would sit through so many lunches, you know what I mean? And he'd go to lunch, you'd invite him to lunch, and then you spend the entire time helping one of your clients or your customers. But I think that at the core of it, I think it's important because it just says a lot about how committed that you are to, just the vision and your purpose. You know what your purpose is, and you know that you have a gift and you've knowledge and experience that you've learned along the way, obviously, because, you had a passion to do that based on what you went through. One of the things that I wanted to ask you is where does Fred Van Liew go from here? Because clearly you don't have any intention of retiring and just going on cruises. And, I think you could last for about, I don't know,
actually,
2 hours.
One of my dreams is eventually going on about a 6-month multiple cruises around the world. I can't think of a better way to where you don't have to worry about your luggage. It's always there. You hit a port. There are enough ports around the world where I would love 6 months, possibly a full year, of just going around to those ports. And here's the key. The very thing that's disrupting your body and destroying your health is what's going to make it possible for me to do that and still stay in communication with those who, whether they're the doctors,
the internet,
who are
and
doing
the cell phones.
what I do, and I don't have to do it physically anymore, but they need the support. You ask, why do I answer the phone? Because I'm told, Fred, why are you answering your phone? You shouldn't be in your position, and they're right and they're not. I get fewer calls now than I did 10 years ago because I have staff that take care of people so much better, so much faster. You call me and you want a product, you'll get it by the year 2020. You call my staff here, that'll go out the same day. People have learned that. Well, but when they have a question on their health, the staff, they know. They do not answer that.
Right.
The basics, but it comes to me. But here's the thing. If you're a doctor or a patient and you have a question, do you really want to wait till I call you back?
No, you want to
That's convenient for me, but this is your health.
Right.
And that's the commitment I've made. And really, there's almost no one that agrees with me except the people that get through when they need to get through. And I rarely have anyone that abuses that. And the ones that do, I chop their head off quickly. So
that was a joke.